decades of turmoil, triumph, and tragedy. This is nothing but America's 20-year pointless war in Afghanistan. If you are getting into it, be mentally prepared for a heavy dose of reality checks, as it is a story of changing guards and shifting sands, a story where leaders rise and fall, and closure remains elusive. Initial signs of trouble. The Taliban, once a ghostly presence in the Afghan narrative, boldly stepped up, looming on the edges of Kabul, leaving many to wonder, were these the early signs of a storm? You bet your ass they were. Reacting to the ominous atmosphere, the global community, led by the United Nations, took a stand. Sanctions rained down on the Taliban and their sinister allies, Al-Qaeda. But in the grand scheme, many questioned. Would this be enough to halt the approaching tempest? No chance. Then, a heart-wrenching blow, the assassination of Ahmad Shah Massoud. To many, he was Afghanistan's ray of hope, a shining light snuffed out too soon. And with these rumblings of impending chaos, a tense world watched, breath held, wondering about the storm that might follow. What did the horizon hold? Let's find out. Catalysts and War Declaration. A serene September morning, forever scarred by an act so heinous. Twin towers, symbols of ambition and progress, crumbled under the weight of the 911 attacks. The world watched, its very foundation shaken, grappling to understand the depth of the hostility. President Bush, embodying the outrage and pain of a wounded nation, took the podium. With gravitas in his voice, he proclaimed a relentless war on terror. No longer would shadows dictate the course of history. America would chase the dusk and fight back. And thus, as autumn leaves began to fall, so did the bombs. On October 7, 2001, the skies over Afghanistan rumbled with the onset of war. A retaliation had begun, and with it an era of relentless pursuit for justice. The stage was set, and the world braced itself for what was to unfold next. Tactical engagements. As the fires of war raged on, an unexpected show of unity emerged. Allies from around the world rallied behind a singular purpose, forging an indomitable front against terror. The mighty Taliban, once casting its ominous shadow over vast terrains, found itself retreating. Major cities shook off the chains of oppression, breathing the first hopeful breaths of a new dawn. Tora Bora, a fortress among mountains, became the stage for a heart-pounding manhunt. The world's most wanted, Osama bin Laden, was within arm's reach. But in a twist that would haunt many, he slipped through the net, leaving behind a trail of questions and what-ifs. Kabul, the heart of Afghanistan, began its transformation. Out of its chaotic narrative, a new leader arose. Hamid Karzai, America's new puppet. Taking the helm in a war-torn nation, he symbolized hope amidst ruins and began charting a course towards a brighter, unified future. Or so we were led to believe. Strategies and politics. As the conflict continued, it became clear that bullets and bombs alone wouldn't rebuild Afghanistan. Enter the provincial reconstruction teams, a glimmer of promise aimed at sewing together the tattered fabric of a nation. On paper, a brilliant move. On the ground, a chaotic affair. Criticism echoed, painting a picture of a plan crippled by its own complexity. Then, like a drifting spotlight, global attention swiveled toward Iraq. A new axis of conflict emerged, stealing thunder, troops, and international will. Afghanistan, once the world's focal point, suddenly felt like a sideshow. The question loomed, could the United States juggle two wars and emerge victorious in either? Evidently not. But the NATO banner unfurled, and with it came the International Security Assistance Force, or ISAF. A fresh set of hands took the wheel, steering Afghanistan's fragile journey toward peace into a truly global endeavor. This wasn't just America's war anymore. This was the world taking responsibility. A cornerstone was laid in 2004, the Afghan Constitution. Against a backdrop of skeptics and critics, it aimed to unite various tribes, beliefs, and histories under one national identity. Democratic foundations were trying to take root, offering a flicker of hope in a dim landscape. But democracy is messy, especially when it's new. The 2004 elections were a turning point, yes, but one fraught with accusations and doubts. Hamid Karzai took the prize, yet whispers of fraud clouded the triumph. And so, the complexity of Afghan politics was laid bare, an intricate weave of progress and pitfalls, highs and lows of mid-war period. As the dust settled and the story unfolded, bin Laden resurfaced, stoking old fears. Like a dark specter from the past, his provocations served as a stark reminder. The fight was far from over. In the midst of this looming darkness, 2005 brought a silver lining. Afghanistan and the US reached across the table and shook hands in a strategic partnership. It was more than diplomacy, it was a symbol of unity against the shadows of extremism. Yet by 2006, hope was once again on shaky ground. A sudden surge of violence tore through Afghanistan's landscapes, reigniting old fires. And as towns and cities echoed with uncertainty, even the powerful NATO alliance began to show cracks, with debates and disagreements bubbling to the surface, towards the war's end. As the shadows of 2009 stretched, Afghanistan found itself ensnared in a political tempest. Contested presidential elections threatened the fragile tapestry of its fledgling democracy, casting a haze over visions of a more hopeful future. In this turbulent backdrop, President Obama stepped forth with a clarion call for change. Determined to alter the course of this protracted conflict, he announced a robust troop surge. Yet, within this assertive strategy was also a promise of finality, a clear indication that the end of the war was in sight. Little did they know. 2011 emerged as a pivotal year. On May 1st, the globe paused as news broke. Osama bin Laden had been neutralized in Pakistan, or so it has been reported. While it marked a significant victory, it also stoked tensions, particularly between Afghanistan and Pakistan, as debates flared and alliances wavered. But the wins didn't stop there. A mere month later, on June 22nd, Obama proclaimed the withdrawal of 33,000 troops by the summer of 2012. A response to dwindling public support, this move aimed at healing rifts in the region. The Bonn Conference in December tried to usher in a blueprint for Afghanistan's future, but its potential was undercut, not least by Pakistan's glaring absence. Concluding stages and aftermath. 2012 brought new strains. Incidents like the burning of Qurans and a shocking act by a US soldier only deepened the fissures in US-Afghan relations. By March, the Taliban had called it quits on talks. A glimmer of hope pierced in June 2013. Symbolizing progress and autonomy, Afghan forces took on the mantle of security. However, this also was tinged with challenges, notably disputes over the Taliban's office in Doha. The dynamics shifted again in 2014. On May 27th, amidst growing uncertainties, Obama announced further troop reductions, casting doubts about Afghanistan's stability in a post-US era. In a pragmatic move to prevent potential unrest by September, Afghan leaders Ghani and Abdullah inked a power-sharing deal. It was a tricky alliance, riddled with its own set of complexities. As 2013 rolled in, Afghanistan witnessed a significant shift. The Afghan forces, trained and bolstered for years, took on the heavy mantle of security, marking the nation's march towards self-reliance. However, overseas, President Obama had decisions to make. The ongoing commitment of US troops came under scrutiny, leading to further military reductions. This signaled not only weariness from a prolonged war, but the hope that Afghanistan was inching closer to standing on its own. In Kabul's corridors of power, an intriguing political ballet unfolded. Amidst political wrangling, Ghani and Abdullah crafted a rare power-sharing agreement. This dual leadership, while unique, symbolized the nation's quest for unity amidst diversity. Yet, the war was far from over. In 2017, a resounding message echoed across the rugged terrains when the US dropped a massive non-nuclear bomb. It was an unmissable sign that the conflict, while different in its dynamics, was far from over. And amidst this shifting landscape, two US administrations, Trump's and later Biden's, grappled with the Afghan predicament. Epilogue. The day finally came when US troops packed up and flew out, closing a protracted chapter of military intervention. Yet, there was no triumphant music, no sense of a mission accomplished. Within this void, the Taliban saw an opening and surged back, seizing control with a speed that left the world stunned. Their return wasn't just about regaining lost ground. It was a grim reminder that some problems don't have military solutions. And so, Afghanistan stands on the brink. The future is a hazy landscape, teeming with unknowns. Will this war-torn nation find a path to stability, or is it doomed to cycle through conflict indefinitely? It's a question that hangs in the air, as heavy as the silence that follows the roar of departing planes.